Nice. Surprised no one's done that exact reply yet, right? With that GIF and everything. A little surprised about that. Let's get some water. Double check on some work stuff. Cool. Okay, so the part that we're on right now, I need to actually go generate some tokens. How much we want to bet they're totally going to show the token right here? Let me just try it. Token name, tempo. Sure. All right, so hold on. Let me do this part. So I need to echo something into base 64. And I need to set the user ID for it. And I'm sorry I can't show this whole entire process. That's the user ID. Basic auth is how that works. All right, so I got the base 64 encoded value, and I want to, let's see. I'm kind of in the wrong folder there. I'm in collector right here, nano.env. In my editor, we called it Loki auth, tempo auth, and Prometheus auth. So this one is tempo auth equals that. All right, now let me do just this whole other process. So I've got those URLs kind of hard-coded right now. Next we'll do Loki. I believe Loki will work the same way-ish. Basic auth, yep, it's generating now. This one is Loki. Create token. Copy the token. Close. And then user, is that the same value? It is not. Do that, we get this. Loki auth, and then finally Prometheus auth is the last one we need. I'm glad that all these can work over basic auth. Nice. Predefined scopes. So yeah, I don't have to do any of that other stuff. I like how simple Grafana Cloud has made some of this. And this user ID is much longer. And we take this value and we throw that into the env file. Okay, so I've done all that. The passwords are definitely showing if I refresh, so I can no longer scroll these pages freely, can I? Oh! Okay, no. So, all I gotta do is refresh those pages and we're good. Perfect! Alright, that's way better. So, now I just need to copy something random so I don't actually paste one of my tokens. But that's the nice part. So it works like every other provider. You're going to generate your token. It'll show it to you while it's necessary. But if you then refresh that page, you can't get it again, and you just need to create a new one. For the most part. Yeah. So, cool. Our next step then, let me double check. Oh, there's a thread. Cool, cool. Sorry, I gotta be up on checking out comments, etc. That wasn't overly painful. I always feel bad when I have to hide anything on screen. You know? I like being able to show you guys everything. But okay, so we've got our env file. What I basically want to do is source .env when we do a source, all it does is run it in the local session, right? So if all these env vars are in my env file and I do source env, it's only basically for this session. It doesn't actually export it, right? That's what export would be for. Correct? I mean, leaking just means you got to create a new one. But yeah, I assume during this process, we're going to end up leaking a key anyway. Right? I bet the collector's just gonna like debug log it out. I want to make sure I don't go up through my history too much. What was the way that we were running the collector? It was hotel call, right? And we were just doing that directly. There it is. All right. So that's the command we wanted. Source.env. Is source.env not it? Hold on. Let me double check and make sure. Right, export env bars. How do we do that? Oh, okay. For some reason, I feel like source should have actually done that. I could have sworn I've done this other ways. Oh, I probably want to do something like this and just do it as a bash script. Let's just do that for now. Let's just say start server.sh crunch bang. I'm sure I've made this mistake before. Yeah, exactly. All right, so source env, and then it's /otel call config equals config.yaml. Oh, and yeah. chmod no? Do I need 755? Thought 644 should make it executable, right? By this user? Plus X. There we go. Duh, it's adding the permission. Okay, so invalid keys headers for the Prometheus exporter. And cannot unmarshal the configuration. Yes, so let's go look at the marshalling logic and see if there's some other thing we can set. So here's the exporter, right? Config, name, endpoint, handler, collector, registry settings. Right, so endpoint is top level. Name is top level. Maybe in config, we're looking for something. Oh, config is actually the thing we care about. Config is coming from a different file. Config is coming from here. So in here, right, server config, config HTTP is coming from collector config, config HTTP. So I bet this is actually this repo. Right, so we get endpoint, proxy URL, headers. What do you mean headers isn't allowed? What? Right, maybe we need to look at the authentication part. Oh, authenticators are if we want to share an authenticator. So that's not it. So server config gets spread onto here. So config http.server config is what I should have been looking at, not the config file itself. So I'm looking at client config right there. That is not server config. And it doesn't have headers. Ah, okay. So maybe we need to figure out how to map it to an auth instead. I find this strange. Wouldn't it actually be client config, right? This is our client pushing to their server? Yeah, I don't know. That part's weird to me. So really, yeah, we want to go look at the authentication struct. Right, and no matter what, it's going to be up there in extensions. So how do we define that extension? Seems to me like the OTLP exporter does support headers and auth right there. We don't see any extensions in here, though. So I kind of need like a good example of that. Ooh, and maybe the README on config auth would help. Let's double check that. Right? Basic auth extension. Here we go. Raw is what we'd want to do there. So basic auth / server. Is there any way to give it an alias? So the authenticator type has to be set to basic auth. Okay, so I think the idea would be, because it's exporter related, let's do it here. I'm actually going to comment that for now because I'm pretty sure that's going to log out our tokens and stuff. All right, so extensions. And I think I can just name it what we want here then, right? So basic auth Loki. And then theoretically, it looks like I can't just pass the raw. I need to pass username and password separately. Okay, so I think I need to do this again. Yep. So CLI base 64 decode. How do I do that? Because I don't want to have to go recreate those things. So it's base 64 just decode. Okay. Hey, what's up, Bob? How you doing? And yeah, exactly. You see that garbage file in there? All right, so I'll just do this for now. Instead of that, I just created another script so I could export my env vars in a way. We do that, we do the plus x, and we do it towards that. Wait, what? Print user pass.sh. Hey, all right, there we go. Need to edit my env file now. And yeah, sorry I can't show all of this. So Loki user and Loki path. I got those printed out. Just gotta grab them. Or not path, but pass. Did I type path? No, we're good. All right, so we got the Loki. And then tempo. So then tempo pass is this, and I should be done with this part pretty soon. All right, so I got the tempo part, and now Prometheus. And I'm doing this just in case, right? I think the Loki or the tempo, I forget which one, is going to be fine with the full like auth base 64 token. I think Prometheus is the main one that needs this other auth. So yeah, Prometheus user. But I'd rather just do all these now. Oop. Rather than having to like switch back and forth a bunch. Okay, do an ls there. I want to clear the history of this, clear my buffer, do an ls there. And I think we are good. So now I can show this stuff. What's up, Tired Kebab? How you doing there, One Plane, Mr. Sirs? Couldn't tell if I was live or that was a BRB screen. No, it's definitely, if you can see me, typically it's live. If it's a BRB screen besides like it would say BRB in a meeting kind of thing. Wait, is my audio going on that other screen? Did I mess that part up? Because I have accidentally muted my mic on that screen before. Y'all could hear me when I was over on there, right? Like, I mean, hear good, but like when I was showing the Hack the Planet stuff, you could also hear me when I was doing that. I just want to double check. I have messed that up before. Audio was fine. Okay, perfect, perfect. Okay, cool, cool, cool. I'm just double checking. Thank you. Oh, and we are out of Red Bull. We're not going to have DM Mulroy joining tonight. He's busy. Checked with him to see if he wants to do Thursday. No pressure. If not, maybe if he's not available, we just wait till next week. I think it really is going to be the last session for the OCaml client. There might be a bit more for like trying to get docs published and stuff, but I think that'll be something I just end up doing. I'll have him like help me make sure the docs make sense and we do some of that, make sure we get the CLI tools like type generation going. And yeah, it might be our last like OCaml session. So we'll have to think about what we work on after that, huh? He's really chill and positive. Yeah. I feel like I'm pretty chill, but I'm less positive sometimes. So that's my fault. I gotta work on that. If you think it's bad now, you should have seen me a couple years ago. Let's do this one. I like this Westland. No, I get it. Yeah. I'm just saying. It has been worse. I was left out of a poll for chillest tech streamer. Just the other day. I'm still a little salty about that. I guess the fact that I'm a little salty about that makes me less chill automatically, huh? It's a catch-22. I'm only human, okay? We could find whatever is hot in mainframe land and get a library going for that. Oh, and a COBOL SDK could totally be a thing. I just highly doubt DM Mulroy would enjoy making that one. I would. Who would we get as a guest for a COBOL SDK? My mom? I think that could work. No VODs from anyone? I know Prime has talked about it briefly before. He's mentioned someone who built out a like demo proof of concept MVP kind of thing at Netflix, and he mentioned that it was basically the fastest thing anyone's ever made, or something like that. I don't know. I'm probably misremembering his quote, but doesn't matter how fast it is if no one else can work on it. A bus factor of 1 is a huge problem. All right, so for the Prometheus stuff, seems to me like this is the right way to do that. So the following are the configuration options. So if both file and inline are set, inline will take precedence. Oh, they're incredibly performant. Yeah, for sure. Writing COBOL is very similar to writing machine language. As far as like how granular and verbose it becomes. Right? Doesn't the BOL just stand for like business-oriented language or something like that? Common business-oriented language. Yep. Yeah, so it's basically machine language, but written in a way that humans can read it, theoretically. That's a really naive way of framing that, but I don't know, close enough. Meh. All right, hold on. Let me go throw a lurk on somebody. Been forgetting to do that for a few days. Yeah, sure. Whoa, Nate Codes is in a t-shirt on stream? That's weird. "30 years from now, we'll look at JS and Rust and maybe even Go." Like, what? Yeah, probably. Probably. Yeah, it means stuff is actually progressing. That's huge. That's great. All right, so this is basic auth Prometheus. Ooh. Anyone ever remember that show? It was either All That or Kablam. I forget which one's which. But it had that skit, Prometheus and Bob. It was like a kid's like Saturday Night Live. Amanda Bynes got her start on it and everything, right? I forget which show it was, but it was one of those ones. It was either Kablam or All That. But there's a thing called Prometheus and Bob, where there's this alien trying to teach a caveman how to do stuff, and the alien just keeps just having the most unfortunate luck. Bob really doesn't want to learn. You know, like, it was so good. Every time I see Prometheus, I think of that. And it makes me giggle a little bit inside. I actually want to rewatch a bunch of those clips. It was Kablam? Okay, that makes more sense. I forget what All That was now. Maybe All That was the SNL thing and Kablam was actually separate? I don't know. Before any of that, if you were real old... Wait, so Kablam was just like non-people skits? All That was like the SNL thing? Really? I could have sworn Kablam had people on it too, but yeah, you're probably right. I just mixed them up in my head. They were like right after each other, weren't they? Like the same hour block? So that would make sense. But yeah, if you're really old, you might remember Roundhouse and Are You Afraid of the Dark being like the good Saturday night block on Nickelodeon. And then after those two things, Nick at Night would come on. Ugh. We are old. I don't know if you know this. Mixed Nuts, if you remember Roundhouse, you are old. If you remember Roundhouse, you probably need to schedule a prostate check. I need to do so as well. Yep. If you remember Roundhouse, you've got some doctor visits to do. We all do. Yeah, it's the worst. No one wants to, but we probably should. Oh, yeah. That's why my brain was farting the other day. Leo Stera is his Twitch name. It's Leandro Steros or something like that, right? My brain was only remembering his real name, not his Twitch name. So yeah, there we go. Leo Stera. Better than the alternative. Yeah. There's that baseball player that died from it recently, right? Or at least was diagnosed with late stage. Which is just terrifying because he's like younger than us. He's like younger 30s. But okay, so, right, we want to do the auth thing. We just want to do inline like that. And then this would be Prometheus user and Prometheus pass. Caught that one early. All right, so we got the Prometheus thing there. Authenticator, right? So that's how we'd end up doing that part. In VS Code, it's called power mode. We do have a command, but you need to know the name of the command. Yeah, so less useful. Sorry. Let me make sure I'm not missing any work thing. Cool. There we go. All right, so we get that authenticator going. So I want to do basically that. And yeah, based upon the convention we're seeing with how we can scope basic auth / Prometheus, I think technically we could do basic auth / whatever we want to name it, which means that we could also then theoretically establish OTLP / something as well. Right, so that's how we could have multiple like OTLP-based exporters that are still different endpoints and different auth, which I think makes a lot of sense to me. So, cool. But yeah, we're not doing the debug one because I don't want to leak any keys at the moment. Okay, so what that means is we should be good to try and run start server. Invalid keys inline. Oh. I still needed HTTP or HT password. That was it. Are they saying I need to change the endpoint? Oh, this is the way. There you go. Yeah, no worries. Yeah. How you doing, Space Case? Yeah, the thing in the logs had 3 slashes, sure, but that's not anything I'm doing directly. It's taking what we have and stripping the HTTP part. So how do I force it to not do a TCP lookup? Now let's double check. Did they leak any keys? They didn't. Awesome. Whew. Whew. And yeah, Joannis, are you still out there? Sorry, I probably, I don't know. I was getting a little combative earlier. That was my bad. It is a bit late for them, time zone-wise as well. So, hopefully they didn't leave because of that. My guess is when we hopped on our call, they decided it was bedtime. But yeah, so something about how it's sending this over TCP instead of HTTP is a problem. And I think that is something to do with this part. But it is stripping that. And it's the Prometheus endpoint, right? Yeah, totally. Collector server TCP, and we want to look that up with Prometheus probably. So they're doing this stuff with Docker. So we don't have the Docker problem at the moment. So that's not the issue. So cannot start pipelines. right? Service pipelines. This is the part they're talking about, basically. And it's the Prometheus one, for sure. Oh, I don't think that's the issue, but let's just do it just in case. Oh, that was auto-formatted. Okay, never mind. Node name nor serve name provided or not known. Malformed URI. Yeah, I think it's because TCP///. I just got to figure out like how we configure it to not be TCP. We want HTTP. So it seems like it's something I need to configure in the Prometheus exporter. Okay. So let's go look at the Prometheus stuff again. Here we are in the Prometheus exporter. Right, config HTTP is the thing that we then go and see here. No, that's config auth. Config HTTP is this file. And that's the server config that gets spread into the general config. So it's this. Right, we see TLS, which is not necessarily TCP, so that's not the problem there. Cores config endpoint. I wonder if it's part of the transport. So instead of HT password and inline, we might want to do client auth and then username password instead. Yeah, no, that sounds about right too. If we compare this output though, we get the same exact output. So the fact that we do either of these and we kind of get the same thing is interesting to me. I don't see any other config values that would matter for the Prometheus provider, but we're not looking directly where we need at this point. I don't see anything in here that would kind of change that, though. No, hold on, wait. Did we see that before? No existing monitoring routine? No, it's the same one. So hotel collector. Yeah, I agree. Oh! Okay, I need Prometheus remote write, not Prometheus. Oh, that's it. I mean, that sounds very personal, Demise, but what is this for? This is for some OpenTelemetry learning. Sorry, I know. That was a bit of a grosser comment, but I should probably get my mind out of the gutter. So OpenTelemetry is an entire like ecosystem of tools to try and make your data more portable between providers. If you establish OpenTelemetry in general, you should be able to switch between things like Datadog and Highlight.io and New Relic and anything else that supports OpenTelemetry fairly easily. Now, all of these other things are going to have their own stuff they add on top that is really like the feature add, but baseline functionality of these things being like interoperable in some way is the goal of OpenTelemetry. Right? So, yeah. Instead of like vendor lock-in, OpenTelemetry is trying to aim towards open like portability. That's a great word, right? Again, you're thinking of just a schema. There is more to it than just a schema. It's about how the data gets propagated. It's how it gets collected, right? If you're using OpenTelemetry-based tools, you create maybe a Prometheus exporter for OpenTelemetry, and then it's plug and playable. If you want to send to something other than Prometheus, you just use a different exporter, but it's still the same data over the wire. So yes, data format is a very small portion of it. It's also about the ecosystem of pluggable tools. I think. That's the way I understand it. So it's not just the data over the wire, it's how do you collect that data? Where do you send that data? And how could you plug in one smaller piece for another piece rather than replacing the whole thing? What is the use case for this? Observability. Like I said, anything you would use, Datadog, New Relic, Highlight.io, any of these providers, if they support OpenTelemetry, you are more portable between any of them. And that's fine. That means you got some stuff to research. As a full stack developer, you're not full stack if you don't understand observability. No, I'm sorry. Observability is not a DevOps thing. You are not as full stack as you think you are. Sorry, right? A lot of people throw the term full stack around. You're not full stack unless you understand what observability even like is at a top level. I'm not saying you got to be an expert, but if you're not even familiar, I'm sorry, full stack is not the right term. There are definitely levels to full stack, right? If we were to try and put numbers on them, as far as like what full stack means, the first level is being able to write back end and front end code, right? That's like the baseline to even use the term full stack. But you're really not as full stack as I think you might think you are. And I'm not trying to do that as a dig. I'm just trying to point out we all have blind spots, but really the term full stack used these days is basically surface level. And I think calling yourself full stack when only being at the surface level of full stack is a bit disingenuous. But what other term would you use? So I understand that too. All right, so we're using the wrong Prometheus exporter. And seriously, think about it this way. It's okay to not know stuff. It just means that you got more to learn. And that's kind of the funnest part, isn't it? I think so. Yeah, one thing I was going to try and say is like, learning something new for the first time is a feeling that you can't buy, right? And you can never get it back. It's like seeing your favorite movie for the first time. You didn't know it was going to be your favorite movie till it was over, right? And that feeling of seeing it for the first time, you'll never get that back. Exactly, yeah. No, that's not what I want. Let's just go to the exporter repo. Remote write. That's the one. Not read write. Remote write. All right, let's look at the docs for this one. You're right. I don't actually have a great like project style command for what we're doing. Do I have an OTel command even? No. So let's do that. OTel. OpenTelemetry is a provider agnostic set of tools and schemas for observability. We are looking into it for some potential sponsored content for highlight There we go. So, OTel. Nope. I did that, but that wasn't the command. It's commands add. Whoops. All right, there we go. So then OTel. And then, yeah, we can add to it as we see fit. But let me add that to the title. Nope, not at all related to Elastic. And you might be able to like get Elastic observability data. Okay, so yeah, all this other junk we had right here, probably not necessary. Right? I don't even think we care about the external labels. So yeah, endpoint, good to go. Auth stays that. And I think we end up being better off with that. Oh. Hey, and we're up and running and nothing's broken. Okay, so that was the issue. We were trying to use Prometheus instead of Prometheus Remote Write. Remote Write allows us to do the headers thing. Prometheus itself is about hosting the server locally, or like, you know, a direct TCP connection to that. Got it. There we go. Nailed it. You were so close. How you doing? Catastrophizer. What you up to? Just so close. Just came back from Observability Day at KubeCon, which was today, and there was some great OTel things going on. One plane, I'm pretty sure that's where the highlight guys were. That's like KubeCon EU, right? Ooh, yeah. Did you go like hit up the highlight booth or anything? I don't know if they had a booth even. Pretty sure they were out at that specifically. Yeah, that's awesome. Didn't spot them. I don't know if they had a booth. I have no idea. I think they were there just to, like, make connections. I don't know for sure. I don't know why they were there. But obviously, like, yeah, it makes a lot of sense to me that they were. Exactly. Right. Yep. It's one of those things where a lot of your potential clients are going to end up going there anyway. So it's a nice, easy way to like schedule meetings, even if you're not like doing the vendor thing, right? Like snowboarding conferences or like the snowboarding convention is basically like that, where you don't need a booth if you're the Allion factory, right? Or Elan factory, that's it. The Elan factory is actually the most technologically advanced snowboard factory in the world. Technically for skis, but they also do snowboards. They do the top end snowboards for most companies in the world right now. Rome Snowboards, their top end is at the Elan factory. Elan actually owns Rome now. So I would bet most of their snowboards are made there, but I bet the bottom end are still actually made in China. Because that's how Rome actually did it. Their top end stuff was made at the Elan factory before Elan owned them. And their bottom of the barrel stuff was made in China at a cheaper price point because they needed to hit like, you know, lower numbers for people that are just looking for a board for the year. Or they don't snowboard often enough to break a board quick enough. So yeah, like major things like that. But to my point, if you go to the snowboard convention as a vendor, as like a snowboard brand, Elan doesn't need a booth to sell other snowboard brands on their factory. Instead, they just throw a party and invite all of the snowboard brands to their party. And then they can just chat with the brands. They got a room like separate to like the hotel room they got where you're like, oh yeah, you want to chat numbers? Let's head over here. Because all of the major snowboard brands, right, and their executives are going to be at the convention anyway. So it's just, I don't know, it's like a summit almost of all of your most important clients. It's a B2B kind of thing, for sure, iReal. Yeah, Elan is there to sell snowboard brands on using their factory. They don't care about selling, like, for the most part, the convention is for buyers at like your local snowboard shop or your online snowboard shops like The House, etc. Like all of those like places that are retail, they still go through a buying process of putting in their orders ahead of time for the year so that brands know how many of a snowboard to make, how many like per like for the main run, how many they should make. Because if you overproduce the next year, those things are worthless. They're worth easily half the value. Because snowboarding is one of those things where like the current model year is at a premium and last year's snowboards are half off. So if you overproduce, you're taking a hit on your profitability, right? Because you paid to have these things made, you need to get your margin like satisfied. So yeah, it's really about just lining up production numbers, which is why you really want to get shops to put in their orders as soon as possible, because then you can do your initial run. And then if you really get a bunch of people like, hey, we sold out. If all of your shop clients sold out, well, yeah, we could do another run, but we'll add a 10% premium or something to it, right? because you should have really just ordered more previously. Just depending on the like specific companies. Underproducing is an opportunity cost, for sure, absolutely. So there's a margin that you need to meet. As an example, during 2008 and a couple other years, snowboard shops took major hits. And it was basically like a doom scenario for a lot of like snowboard brands. Because companies didn't put in their orders or whatever. And like, man, it was like massive chaos. But some shops might over-order. And if you over-order as a shop and something like 2008 hits and your customers at your shop just aren't buying snowboards because they don't have that disposable income anymore, you may have bit off more than you can chew. And most brands would have some type of like buyback scenario. Right? As a brand, if you're not doing that to support your shops, they're not going to be a customer next year because they went out of business. So it's better to have a customer for the next 5 years rather than getting like your total value from the current year. For the same reason that AWS forgives billing issues. Because they know if they can just collect money from you 5, 10, 15 years from now, the entire time, they're going to make their money back if they, handle the one mistake you made for you. In snowboarding, tech doesn't change that often. No. There are certain things that end up like changing the industry and then other companies adapt. There's been maybe 5 milestones like that in snowboarding. Maybe. In skiing, a little bit more so, but in skiing, look at it this way. Rossignol ski bindings basically haven't changed since the 70s, right? That design was made and they've like tweaked materials and stuff like that. But as far as like the mechanics of the Rossignol ski binding, it's the same thing they patented way back when. Right? The tech doesn't change that much. Materials do. But materials are more gradual. So like between this year and last year, who cares? The only big things I could point out are in snowboarding, right? Reverse camber was really big back in like the mid 2000s. It was brand new when LibTech did their skate banana or something like, I forget what they called it. But basically snowboards for the longest time where, you got the tips that go up like that, but between like the contact points, the board had concave, meaning that it would like bow up in the middle. So you'd lay it flat and there'd be a gap between the ground and the middle of your snowboard, right? And that's concave, or that's regular old camber. A more modern and recent invention is reverse camber, where the middle part of the board hits and then the tips are actually like pointed up from the ground. And there are major use cases for that. It was especially important for things like powder and rail riding, but there's different types of reverse camber. You can get it between the feet, where the middle part is like the center contact point, or you can have it flat between your binding points and then bow up like a skateboard outside your feet. That's the type of reverse camber I ride. That's like one of the most influential like technology things that changed in snowboarding, right? That's like a milestone. There are maybe 4 or 5 milestones in snowboard tech. Everything else is just basic materials BS. And I'm talking over the past 30 years in snowboarding, there's maybe 5 major milestones. An old option board. I'm gonna bet that it's pretty heavy, because they were like a full wood core instead of like getting foam like nitros do and things like that, or doing like weird like grid shaped kind of things. But yeah, and if you're heavy, then a heavy board is worthwhile because it supports your weight better, right? Yeah, most snowboards actually have like a recommended weight range for them. I could talk snowboarding tech for days. Let's actually get back to some code. Here's the thing. I could talk snowboard tech for days. I actually don't care about much snowboard tech. I don't care about brands either. I like Rome because they supported me for a while, so I'll keep supporting them, but as long as I have a board that has the same like size I need and basic shape, I need a twin tip reverse camber outside the feet, flexible enough to do a nose press, and then I'm done. That's all I need. So Rome makes one, Capita makes a board that would work for me, Burton makes a board that would work for me. Like every company makes a board that would satisfy my niche for the most part. So at that point, brands are somewhat meaningless. I will say with bindings on a snowboard, brand actually becomes more important because snowboard binding tech is one of those things that is actually like different from company to company, right? When the first like ratchet system came out, that was one of those milestones I was talking about. When the first like toe caps came out, where instead of like doing your toe binding toe strap over like the top of your boot, it now goes over like the front and like toe of your boot. That has the added specialness of like pushing your boot back into your binding better too, right? That's another major milestone in snowboarding tech. But really, there's like 5-ish of snowboards changing that much over time. Or snowboard tech in general changing that much over time. Snowboard boots might have a couple milestones to shout out, but yeah, I don't know. One of the craziest things, right, that the BOA system in snowboard boots, you're not going to find very many pro snowboarders that actually use that. Because at the level of a pro snowboarder, you care more about dialing in the tension all the way up the boot, right, per like set of loops. And you can't do that as finely with a BOA system, right? You can get 2-zone BOA, and that helps, but it's not great. So yeah, at some point you go back to just regular old laces. You're going to go to sleep and dream of snowboarding. Another day of conferencing tomorrow. Yeah, maybe go shout out and chat with the highlight guys. Let them know I sent you their way. See if you can find them. It'll be like a Where's Waldo. And then real quick, how many days per year would you say I snowboard? Nowadays? Right? Like this year, I've been up 2, maybe 3 times. I basically only ride powder days and slush days. And slush days need to be sunny. I don't have a Waldo beanie. If not, why? Because I haven't gotten one yet. I probably should, though. But Elfo, let me put it this way. Back during my heyday, I was riding, let's just call it 150 days per year. There were definitely years that I got up there 200 plus. I think 220 was the number I calculated at one point for like the longest season I had. What is a heyday? It's like your, the good old days, right? Like the most prevalent time. Right? The heyday of the gold rush was 1849 or some junk. I don't know the year. But for the most part, yes, I was a snowboard bum from 18 until about the age of 30. And during that time, I rode, on average, let's just call it 150 days a year. Yeah, and I'm not even exaggerating. During the best times, I was working terrain park in which I had to snowboard. So even if I didn't feel like snowboarding that day, I needed money, so I'd have to go snowboard. And those are good times. Some of my best days were days I probably wouldn't have gone snowboarding, but all of a sudden we got a major powder dump at night because I was the night terrain park guy, and I was shredding powder on the clock, getting paid to ride powder. People ask me if I ever went pro. Kind of. I got paid to ride powder, but not by a company, or not by like a snowboard brand. That was by a ski resort because I was working terrain park. I was basically the night terrain park lead or whatever, which meant I had 2 or 3 people working under me. I was barely a boss, but I was the one responsible for just closing stuff, and I'd go out with the CAD operator and help build out the jumps that night, set up the rails, hold them steady while they pack around it, then, you know, use the shovel to even it out so the rail's actually flat so it sets up properly for the next day, stuff like that. I remember riding a couple jumps and rail jams and stuff like that where I set up the course and then got to practice on it the night before. So yeah, maybe I had a bit of an edge over a couple people in a couple local competitions. But for the most part, I didn't register for competitions that often. I'd usually just poach, like go ride the course and hang out. So yeah, a lot of privilege there. Like, I went out with the CAD operator often enough to where I got to know that, like, yeah, when I start getting really tired, I start seeing white rabbits everywhere. And what he means is, like, yeah, like, when you're out there pushing a bunch of snow around and all this stuff, and it's just, like, whiteout conditions and blah, 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 your brain's going to create the idea of, like, yeah, there's, like, snow rabbits all over the place just hopping around. Technically, they are around. Yeah. But if you see a bunch of them, you might just be sleep deprived. So yeah, that's kind of fun. I have legitimately seen white rabbits at Stevens Pass. I have also non-legitimately seen white rabbits as well. You ask any CAT operator that has done ski resort cat driving, they'll say the white rabbit thing too. It's one of those weird, like, superstitions almost at this point. It's one of those things where, like, you might not even talk about it with your other cat operators and drivers, but then all of a sudden someone will be like, man, does anyone else, like, just sometimes just see white rabbits everywhere? And every other person's like, oh yeah, did we not tell you about that? That's just how that works. Yeah, they're not really there. You're just tired. You know, like, it's just super weird. But, like, it's something that happens outside of someone telling you about it. You see it anyway, and then you think you're just crazy. And then you actually chat about it with other cat operators, and they're like, no, that's a thing. Yep. White Rabbit whiskey? I have not. What kind of whiskey is it? If it's a Scotch, that's the obvious reason why I haven't had it yet. I'm not a Scotch drinker. White Rabbit, it's a bourbon. Like, I've had Jack Daniels. Is Jack Daniels and White Rabbit whiskey the same thing? Is it like fancier Jack Daniels? Like they age it longer or something? Or filter it better? Or I don't know. Or is it just part of their marketing? I feel like I've seen Mila Kunis talk about that before, right? Like the White Rabbit, whatever, but it was just a Jack Daniels commercial. Oh, it's a stronger Jack Daniels. Okay. Okay, that makes more sense. White Rabbit Saloon Special Edition Jack Daniels. Okay. So yeah, I can't drink Jack Daniels these days. The snowboard brand I used to get free gear from, their like brand whiskey was Jack Daniels, which means I drank too much of it too many times, and now I just can't do it. I've also got that problem with rum. I've overdone rum too many times that I just can't do it anymore. But our thing is running. If I were to run this, let's do it for like 1 second. Right, we just did some traces. Do we see that get logged out in Grafana? And wait, what's what? What are you asking? Sorry. All right, we see overview. The previous one, what? Sorry, like, I mean, gotta add some context there. Sorry. No, Elfo, I want to answer your question. I just want to know what you mean. Sorry, like, previous one, what? No, we will keep going, right? It's easy enough. I don't mind getting distracted. I get distracted all the time. So, this or this, right? Like, what was on the screen? This. I'll stay still. You mean this, right? Okay. So, we've got our collector, right? Or technically our server running right here. And this is our collector taking in data from certain places. Ooh, we're getting an unauthorized, so that's a bummer. Over here in this tab, we have Telemetry Gen. Telemetry Gen is a tool to just generate a bunch of mock OpenTelemetry data, right? So right now, we are using Telemetry Gen to generate traces and send them to our OTel collector. The collector is then going to proxy and send those to our Grafana cloud services for each like thing. So when we look at what we got in here, these pipelines are kind of like the things consuming what our collector is taking in and then exporting. And these pipelines are really like for traces. We're going to send it out to OTLP, and that OTLP, not that, OTLP exporter is the tempo auth, right? Then our other exporter is Loki, and then our other exporter is Prometheus remote write. When we look at this, we are configuring those for, traces is going to be the tempo thing. Metrics is going to be for Prometheus data, and then logs is for Loki. Right? The main gist is you can have different tools take in this data as a database to be queried by Grafana or something else. But they all have their own specific ways of storing this data and being queryable by a thing like Grafana. All right, so basically, for any trace data, metric data, or log data, we're going to receive data over OTLP. And that's what our telemetry gen is sending data over the wire as. From there, our exporter, right, is where, like, just imagine the collector as a middleman. So our application sends data to the collector via receivers. And then from those receivers, the collector then sends this data out to some type of provider, such as Tempo for traces, or Prometheus for metrics, or Loki for logs. So the collector is really like a middleman between you and the databases that want to store these things, right? Your app and the databases that want to store it. And no, this is a good question because I need to be good at explaining this stuff. And if anyone knows better and I'm slightly off, I would appreciate, clarifying what I'm saying a bit, because I might be slightly off. And I'd rather be technically correct than technically incorrect, right? So yeah, we haven't gotten any traces, logs, or metrics, mainly because our trace tool failed, right? When we go to our server that is running, when it tried to export our data via the OTLP exporter, the data type was traces, right? The kind was exporter. We dropped the data. So exporting failed because unexpected HTTP status code 401. So we broke it. I don't know how we broke it, but we broke it. I don't think this is going to fix it. .401 unauthorized. Well, let's try any of the others. Instead of traces, let's try logs. Also unauthorized. Invalid scope requested. Oh, so that is slightly different. I mean, it's different because we did a different thing. So I would say that's not necessarily like the progress we care about. All right, so we did logs and traces. The only other thing to try is metrics and see what we get. Invalid scope requested. Well, shucks. We might need to actually do our scopes somewhere. That's trickier. But real quick, hold on. I got water. I do want to thaw some pork for dinner. Pretty sure my onions and taters are no good. Otherwise, I do my breakfast hash meal. So, yeah, I think... Ooh, we could do butter chicken. Or not butter chicken, sorry. Like shrimp scampi or chow mein. What do y'all think? Shrimp scampi or pork chow mein? Oh, Akavenge is in it for the shrimp. Whatever is the easiest. I mean, they both require effort. Shrimp scampi is basically shrimp and noodles with a butter sauce. And then pork chow mein is pork chow mein. I don't know how to describe that if you've never had chow mein. Can't eat shrimp, so eat it for you. Okay, okay. Yeah, shrimp is bugs. Delicious bugs. Yeah, damn right. We all started as arthropods, and we'll probably evolve back into arthropods pretty soon. Right? On a geological scale. Arthropods are the alpha and the omega. Shrimp are shellfish. I believe shellfish count as arthropods, though, right? Is that not it? Am I wrong? I thought arthropod was basically anything with the shell on the outside. Have I been using that term wrong? Yeah, crustaceans count as arthropods, for sure. Right? Insects, crustaceans, arachnids, right? Anything with the shell on the outside is an arthropod. Exoskeleton made of chitin. Yep, no worries. I just want to point out that I mispronounced the word chitin for years. Because I never heard it said out loud. Like, I'd heard the word chitin, but I'd never seen it done otherwise. So basically, yeah, I would call it chitin. Right? Oh, wait, it's pronounced chitin? I've heard that word. No, it's chitin. Yep, you're welcome. You just learned something today, too. Let me go use the restroom. I'll be right back. Hey, Guacajoli, thank you for the sub. BRB, give me a sec. I'll totally, let me know what the bot says in response or if it doesn't work, and then we'll fix it. But, yeah, gotta use the restroom. All right, so we got enough votes for the shrimp dish tonight. So I'll be doing the shrimp. I haven't done the shrimp scampi in a while, so yeah, I'm into it. Ooh, an Akavenge. Yeah, that scene's back. Also, MLB The Show is back, and I'll probably be playing some of that tonight. Anyone with Xbox Game Pass want to do some MLB The Show co-op? I'm down. Just let me know. We could do a franchise, like we can do whatever. So yeah, Guacajoli. Did my bot do a good announcement for your name, or did it break? And thank you for the sub. It worked? Okay, cool. And it's not Siri, but it's close enough. Yeah, we envisioned you as a superhero. Did it, like, is it a good one? If you ever want the audio from the announcer lady, I can always pass you that audio clip. You just got to send me a message on Discord and I can do so. You think you're in there? Yeah, yeah. If you want the audio clip, just send me a DM. Like, super easy. No problem. All right, so back to what we're doing. Taking our sweet time. Oh, looks like you already did send it. Is that you, like, name that starts with R? Is that you, Guacajoli? That's all I can see because I have streamer mode on, but I just want to make sure that's you. No? All right. Well, who's the one that's name starts with R? Oh, name is same on there? All right. Well, send me a PM and I'll send you your thing. No idea who R is at the moment. I see we have one mutual server and it's not even my server. I bet I'm about to get spammed. They're about to tell me how they could make some Twitch icons and emotes for me. They do overlays too. Anyone sick and tired of those spammers? You know they're just plugging whatever you ask for into, like, ChatGPT or something, right? All right, you sent me another. There we go. Since they began, exactly. Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. So it's not necessarily the same exact name, but let me download the audio clip for you. And what's up, Sean? How you doing, Mr. Sir? Guacajoli. And I really like that name. Should I actually pronounce it like guacamole, right? Guacajole. It does not start with NR. There you go. Totally works. But yeah, thanks, Joel. Let me just send that to you. I can pronounce it however I like. Perfect. All right. Nailed it. Yeah, no worries, man. I hope you enjoy it. Yeah. Yeah, if there's other people online that know you by that name, feel free to shout it out. Yeah, feel free to use it. But as we look at what we're doing, it seems like every single thing we did failed. Change it to your voicemail. There you go. Did I end up securing a gig? Yes, I did. I am now working full-time at GitKraken. I'm still within the first 2 weeks of onboarding, but I feel like there's still a bit of pressure to get some content made sooner rather than later. To be reckoned with. All things mechanical. So yeah, four-wheel gator, that was a pretty good one. I feel like she made a couple mistakes, but if you want that, I'll download it and I'll send it to you. Just send me a message. But yeah, Mr. Elfman, check out that command that I just did for the second time, because you didn't read it. And yeah, thank you, Akavenge, Mr. Sir. This is my first role as a developer advocate. Yeah, your roommate says she nailed it. Nice. Yeah, if you want that audio clip, just let me know. I don't mind. So yeah, Mr. Elfman, I've been a developer for the majority of my career. This is my first role as a developer advocate. This role is focused on content creation. So I need to come up with YouTube videos and shorts and all that stuff. Sure, Akavenge. Technically, we've got a command, right? Developer advocacy is a part of DevRel. DevRel is a role in which, or by companies that have developers as their target market. So if you're making dev tools or things that target developers as your core target market, DevRel is a major thing that you probably need. You use GitKraken. Yeah. How about this? It's amazing. Yeah. What I want to end up doing at some point, and yeah, let me do this. I think it'll be a really valid part of my job. I'm gonna go to cal.com. That's fine. Use it for whatever you want. I want to get a really good user story from you in general, and really from anyone that uses GitKraken. 20-year-old Git repo at work. That's crazy. right? Because Git wasn't that well known back then. That's huge. Yeah, I'd love to know more about it. Let's just say 15-minute meeting, and then availability is that, right? Okay, so what I'm gonna do is we'll call it like a 15-minute kind of like coffee chat thing. Actually, hold on. Let me create a whole new one. I'm going to duplicate the one I got. All right. Copy link to event. How to set things up? I don't want to do that necessarily right now. But eventually, we can totally go through it. But I don't think that's the goal right now, Four-Wheel. One of these days, sure. Yeah. Eventually, yeah, let's do that. But anyone who is using Gitkraken already and who has for a while, I'd love to hear your feedback about how you're using it and maybe what it's not doing for you that you'd like to see. So yeah, Mr. Elfman, please grab some time on that calendar. Right? Doesn't mean that, like, guaranteed that'll be when it happens, but bare minimum, you get into the list and we can reschedule if I have some conflict, right? So yeah. And that goes for anyone that's using Gitkraken, right? Please use that link. I'm going to make a command for it too. Commands add Gitkraken feedback. I would love to know how you are using Gitkraken for work or personal projects. This applies to long-time users as well as people new to Gitkraken. So really, Four-Wheel, like, try and do some of that. Like, you know, try and figure it out, right? I'd say Four-Wheel, try and put in the effort towards doing it yourself on your own time. And if there's something that wasn't obvious, that would be good feedback, right? So go through the process without my help, without my onboarding. Try and just use the docs and things they have. And if there's something missing, that would be amazing feedback. Does that work? Oh! That wasn't it. That was definitely not it. All right, so hold on. I need to update that command because the thing I had in my copy and paste history was not it. I need to do edit there. There we go. Sorry. Yeah, exactly, Rumple. Sometimes it can be a bit annoying, but really, I need that help, right? That's, I think, one of the better things we could just do in general, right? Making sure that process is easier for the next person. So yeah, there we go. Now we got that command, right? Mods, if you see someone chatting about it and I forget to do that command, I'd really appreciate you doing it. But yeah, feel free to, you know, book out some time. Yeah, I work fully remote. I won't take a non-remote job unless they want to pay me $400K a year. That's my number, right? That's the, you want me in the office? That's what you got to pay. And I mean base salary. I'm not even talking like total comp. I mean base salary, $400K a year, you could get me back in the office. Anything less than that, I don't know. I might consider it for $300K. 300 to 400K, bare minimum for me getting into the office. Otherwise, I'll make a visit. I'll make a visit for less. And yeah, like Rumple, I'm actually hoping nobody takes me up on that. Right? It's a number that I consider outrageous and no company should take me seriously. But if they really want me in the office that much, well then yeah, that's my number. I'm expecting that nobody ever does that. Which means I never go back into the office. Win-win. Right? I win if I do, I win if I don't. Because I'm making a reasonable salary, being able to work from home on my own time. I don't know about that one, Four Wheel. My trolls would definitely disagree. But we all know how unreasonable my trolls are, so who cares? I know, right? We do a pretty good job of weeding them out. To where this is just a nice, fun, chill place to be. For me, at least. Reasonable is whatever you can afford. Technically, right? If you can reason about it and justify it to yourself, that is reasonable. That's it, right? I cannot justify to my own personal whatever going back into the office for anything less than $300K a year. And I've never had a job that paid that much, so I don't expect to get it. If I'd gotten hired at Netflix, maybe. But they didn't. They didn't even call me back. They never followed up on a single resume I sent them. So yeah, you know. Whatever y'all think of my skills, Netflix thinks the opposite. All right? As long as, like, if any of y'all think I'm good, Netflix thinks the opposite. I know, maybe. I really dislike utilizing connections like that. Yeah, Homebrew Creator didn't get the Google job, right? Would him getting a reference actually help? Technically, I would say Homebrew Creator didn't get the Google job because they actually looked at how Homebrew works. He spent so much time waiting for Homebrew to update during his interview and ran out of time. Boom, roasted. Homebrew is a tool for Mac OS. Think of it like apt-get, but for Mac specifically. It's a tool, not a person. There's a dude that made Homebrew. This is Homebrew Cask right here. Right? This is every single package available for Homebrew. He's not even hashing this stuff. He's just jamming them into folders. At least CocoaPods does a hexadecimal-based hashing algorithm. Right? Yeah, just jam all the things that start with M into a folder called M. Yeah. If anything, the people interviewing the guy that wrote Homebrew were actually familiar with how he wrote code and knew that they needed to really, like, test him. I would have given him a hashing algorithm problem in the interview to hopefully just make a hint. Hey, man, I bet you could do better. Hey, man, do you really think this is a good idea? I'm trying to think of probably the worst case scenario. Let's say E, because E is the most common letter in the English language. It's really not that bad. So the amount of packages actually on Homebrew isn't that much, but you're going to hit some level of scaling eventually, right? Right? The size of these folders sucks. It's hashed internally. I mean, to consider the first letter of the package name, so that's the folder it goes into, a hashing algorithm, it's not very evenly distributed. So it's not a good hashing algorithm. Oh, hold on. At least CocoaPods has like a somewhat reasonable hashing algorithm. Hold on. Let's find the right one. It's in the org. I think I'm in the wrong repo. Here it is, specs. So here's what I think is more reasonable. CocoaPods is absolutely in a Git repo. Yep. That's why Git is so important to our infrastructure, or why GitHub is so important to our infrastructure. Because CocoaPods existed before GitHub was bought by Microsoft. Homebrew existed before it was as big as it is, right? All of these things were abusing the infrastructure of GitHub. And I think abusing is the only way to phrase that. It required a company the size of Microsoft purchasing GitHub to support the infrastructure that was needed for these things. So yeah, look at it. Here in the specs folder of the specs repo for CocoaPods, it's hexadecimally hashed. And then within each one of these, let's say go into C, it is hexadecimally hashed. And then hexadecimally hashed. And it's however levels they need to get to where this is a reasonable size of a folder. Eventually, they may need to go another level deep. But it's still a reasonable folder size. So their lookup is more reasonable. Right? This at least means that someone thought about folder size when they were doing the hashing. Whereas just using the first letter of the package name is a terrible hashing algorithm. It is most likely just hashing the package name, but it's hashing it into what is most likely like an MD5 or something, right? It's using a really, really fast hash of probably the name and then just scoping them to that, but there's enough of an even distribution using that hashing algorithm that if they need to go another level deep, they can just go another level deep. It used to be only 2 levels. Now they're at 3. But this has at least some future-proofing to it. Whereas as Homebrew gets bigger and bigger and bigger, some of those folders will be uncrawlable on some machines. Right? Windows will just throw up at a folder that has, what, 10,000 things in it or something? Could you imagine if NPM was done this way? That's possible too, Tufels, but you want to get somewhat of an even distribution. And some hashing algorithms have better distributions than others, right? All right, 255 character max limit, right? Sure, that's a thing too. Yeah, it gets pretty gnarly once you start considering cross-platform file system issues. Yeah, so Chiquila, if you just do song, as long as my bot didn't crash, all right, we're good. You can get the link to whatever song is currently playing, whether it's on YouTube or Bandcamp or whatever. Yeah, no worries. Real quick, let me shout out some follows. So, Hellenic Guy, ooh, of Troy. Sorry, bad joke. And then Pither Bro, thank you for the follows. Welcome. Yeah, this artist is especially cool because it's copyright safe. So if you end up wanting to do YouTube videos or whatever, you can use any song from White Bat Audio on your stream or on your, YouTube video or whatever, and it's totally fine, right? No copy strike whatsoever. Because I bet they make pretty good money from these playlists, right? And just people knowing about the artist is valuable. So yeah, Carl Casey or whatever his name is. Very smart dude. All right, so the thing we are doing. Alrighty. And yeah, what's everyone up to? Hold on real quick. 1 second. Let me chime in. So yeah, what's everyone up to? Any fun plans for the week or anything? Anyway, yeah. The Cocoa Pods homebrew thing. That's always a fun rant. What we need to do is figure out why these scopes are no good, right? Invalid scopes, dropped items, blah, blah, blah. Let's just try it here. That doesn't look right to me. So they're doing it like from a Kubernetes standpoint. All right, sorry. I'm lurking Nate Codes. He's got a great stream. But something is up about how we're doing this. Yeah, like the thing we pasted, it's too much of our own junk. I think really this first bit is kind of all we need to do our search. Hey, what's up, SB Code? How you doing? We're just using Grafana's like self-hosted junk. Or not self-hosted, but Grafana's hosted server. Right, so set up and manage your Prometheus metrics service, send metrics, and basically this. So yeah, Grafana has most of what we need, right? So Tempo, Loki, Prometheus, those are kind of all really just part of Grafana Cloud at this point. Yeah, so I know basically nothing about it. I just know I don't want to have to spin up that many services. So yeah, like the least amount of services possible is really my goal here. How's it going, Standard? I just saw it. Like I had to poke a joke. You know. Picking a poke? Yeah, for sure. So yeah, my bad. I just thought that was fun. I thought that was pretty good. If anyone doesn't know, if I ever do the colon like slash face, that is me basically doing this. That's what that face really means when I do it. Right? Is that like Justin Timberlake gif? All right. Just so you got it, I want other people to see it too. It's basically this one. Stare. I forget how I bring it up. Somehow, whenever I actually need it, I type the one thing that brings it up immediately. Let's just type in Timberlake, I guess. This one. It's the first four. That's what it means when you see me do that. without the part afterwards, right? This part. It's the visual embodiment of, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. Which is so much worse than being mad. You'd probably prefer me being mad. I'm going to say that right now. Me being mad means I still care. The moment I start being disappointed, I stop caring a bit. And when I stop caring, that's actually the worst part. You don't want that. So yeah, I didn't mean it quite that way. I should have thrown a kappa on it. But still. I don't know, man. Getting left out. I don't like being left out. Which is why you rarely see me do any of those tweets that's like, check out all these other streamers, because I would feel bad about leaving someone out. So I just won't do it. And then I'm not leaving anyone out if I never make those tweets. But yeah, so there's something we're doing wrong with our auth here. The fact that they're complaining about scopes is actually the crazy part. Invalid scope requested. Oh. They're all Prometheus remote write. Oh. So metrics is what we did a second ago. Let's see what this one does. Sending queue is full. So our Loki stuff is also a 401 unauthorized. I don't think this part actually matters. So commenting that should not be an issue. We should be able to restart and do whatever, right? We do logs, we send that off, and we still get 401. Yeah, anyone dealt with configuring Grafana and some of these services with it before? I think there's something like really simple I'm missing about it, but I don't know what. All right, let's go look at it. The logs in Grafana Cloud might give more info. Ooh, yeah, where do we find that part? Let's look at the logs in Grafana Cloud first. Where do I even find that, right? I see CM Griffing logs, right? That's our log service, which is Loki. I feel like this part, right? cmgriffing.grafana.net versus grafana.com/orgs. This part is really what we end up caring about, right? Maybe not. Maybe this is unrelated. Cardinality management. Oh, God, I hope I don't leak nothing. Oh, God. All right. That doesn't seem like the issue. All of this stuff we're doing with OpenTelemetry is related to Highlight.io and some sponsored content for them. My work doesn't give a shit about Next.js. Not a thing they concern themselves with, right? Tangentially, yeah, if you're a dev that uses Next.js, you could probably use GetKraken to solve a bunch of problems for you, but Next.js is so far outside of our purview that it doesn't matter, right? Because we care about a different level of your dev process, right? The tools you use to build out your processes and your services and all that stuff are meaningless towards the level of like Git ops or Git processes, you know? So yeah, it's just like if you think about the OSI stack or whatever, right? As far as networking is concerned, etc., GetKraken operates at an entirely different level than services like Next.js. Right? If you really want to think about it, you know, if you were to break down the dev process into a similar like OSI stack, kind of like separation, GitKraken is a lower level. It doesn't care how your application is implemented. Not relevant to us whatsoever. No, none of this is like, when you say websites, Next.js is a terrible idea for a website. You should not be using Next.js for websites. Next.js is for web applications. If you're making a website with Next.js, you're probably fucking up. That's the only way I can phrase that. A website should be statically generated. Right? Server-side rendering is an edge case. Vercel has somehow convinced people that it's the common case. It isn't. The majority of things in the world are either static marketing sites, static documentation sites, or dynamic dashboard applications. Anything in between that is such a narrow use case that it's not even valuable to consider unless you know you're making an app in that space. Are we going to do the Theo thing? Do I need a diagram for this? Right? So, boom, right? Websites. Right? Documentation sites. Oh, hold on, no. We wanted that one green. Blue. Sorry. All right, we're going to do another one. Right, that's dashboard applications. And then right here in the middle, right? This right here is the narrow band in which server-side rendering is actually useful. So let's separate these just a little. Sure, right? Let's make this one solid. Let's make this one solid. Let's make this one solid. And the only fuzzy part is the SSR, right? So now, let's do some text. Dashboards, SPAs. Docs. And then finally, marketing sites. at the end of the day, when you do this part, right? Let's just say dynamic static sites. SSR. Next.js is made for that. The majority of the internet is not that. Somehow they have convinced people this is the common case. It isn't. It is an edge case. A valid, really useful edge case. But still an edge case. Right? Yeah, no worries, Shaquila. Have a good night. We'll see you again soon, right? For sure. So really, I should remove this bit and drag it. I should remove this bit dashboard/apps. And then from here, yeah, websites and web apps are fundamentally different things, right? Equating them in any way does not help, does not matter. So I think now we can do this bit. And I think this is worthy of a tweet, maybe a blog post even. SPAs. SSR. SSG. So now, if we were to really like do this right, let's do this. It'll be in the gray. Reorder, bring to front. Right? SSG. Right? SSR. SPA. Right? Does this actually, like, does this make sense to people? Now, technically, there is an overlap for docs that benefit from SSR. Right? Good documentation is documentation that allows you to do app-like things with it, right? Imagine open API specs. Your Open API spec being able to make a request to a real server and show you the results, that is somewhat SSR. It could also be an SPA. Yeah, exactly, Goob. I think this is the biggest part. I think it's a good tweet. I want to make sure we do it right, though. But I think, yeah, 1000%, like so many people are misled by the marketing of companies that make money off of hosting. Yes, of course they want to push you towards SSR. They have a vested interest in you thinking that's the most important thing you could do with your application. I'm sorry, your marketing site, your documentation site do not need SSR at all. They might need like a serverless endpoint, sure, but that's not SSR. Right? So I think that's the big bit. Things that people just misunderstand. If you're doing a dashboard or an app, you're a single page application. Like, no matter what, if you are login gated, dude, you're a single page application. Just do an SPA. You don't need server-side rendering for a dashboard app. At all. Just don't do it. For an application, you don't need SSR. For a marketing site or a doc site, you don't need SSR. Just statically render your entire doc site. Hugo can do it in less than a second for 10,000 plus pages. Does your doc site have 10,000 plus pages? No, it doesn't. Come on. Come on, be honest. The only use case this matters for is a very, very narrow subset of things. Are you operating eBay? Yeah, you need SSR. Are you operating a statewide classified site for selling cars? Yeah, you need SSR. Right? SSR is basically a level of scale that SSG doesn't solve anymore. So if you imagine you're going to have 100,000 plus classified ads, right? Think Craigslist. They could statically generate all of that, or they could just generate the pages on the fly and cache those things as people fetch them. Rumple, I think you're joking. You should have thrown a kappa on that statement, right? You definitely should have thrown a kappa. There you go. Nailed it. Right? But if you're doing a classified site like Craigslist, SSR is important because every time one thing changes, do you want to go and regenerate every page? Hell no. So then SSR is valuable, right? But that is such a narrow portion of the internet that to convince people that's what they need is just good marketing. Good job. You misled a bunch of people. That means you're a marketing god. But it doesn't mean that you're good at your job because you sold them on something they didn't actually need. So yeah, is there a way I could improve this document, possibly with using different colors, anything like that? I think this is fundamentally important. I got to be careful, and we got to do it right, because the moment I post this, either it disappears and no one cares, or I have a bunch of people ruffling their feathers in my chat, or like comments, you know? So can I at least like make sure that people understand it before they ruffle their feathers? All right, let me go use the restroom, and I'll be right back. See you in a sec. All right, so I think what I need around this is basically, you know, just an image. So yeah, let's pour another beverage. And what I want to do is like a big kind of like wrapper around it, right? So boom, we do this. We're going to do another text up here. The World Wide Web, because that's different from the internet. This is that. This is Excel. Reorder, send to back. And let's just change the color to black. Sure. Right, so how do we feel about this so far? Because I think this is basically the topic for a video at some point. All right, so yeah, I feel pretty good about this image. I think there's maybe something else I need. You know what? I want to move this over. Oh. Wait, what? What up, Salty? How you doing? We're gonna make that one red. Oh, hold on. Welcome back. What are we up to? I think making something that helps explain where some of these things live. Right. Does this help explain it a bit for people? Because I think this is important. So is there anyone that would push back on this? And I know I want to do the hotel stuff, but I think this has become a thing that I really want to like emphasize at this point. So you're wondering why meta? It's because Meta has a problem they need solved. And it's why they created React Server Components. Right? Meta is at the scale where they basically need server-side rendering for various like caching reasons, etc. But they are such like a narrow sliver that you don't need to consider what Meta is doing because you are not Meta. Meta / Facebook. Does that help? No. Like Meta / Facebook, right? I should probably just type Facebook. Right? They fall into the SSR realm, for sure. But for you to consider how Meta builds their server-side rendering pipeline and all that stuff for your startup is a ridiculous thing to do. Right? You're actually just harming the experience of your users at that point, right? Oh, and what happened here? Literally what I just listed out. A dynamic static site is something like a classified site or eBay or whatever, where you want SEO and you want to be indexed as if you're static, but to statically render 100,000 pages every time a single change is made is insane. Right? Most marketing sites are doc sites. Just re-render the whole site when you change one page. Worrying about incremental static site regeneration doesn't matter. Don't do it. It's not worth your time. If you are making a classified site, like a car sales site or eBay, then you should probably care about incremental static regeneration or just SSR. But SSR is the edge case. There are just so many apps that do not benefit from server-side rendering. Maybe not Space Case. I'm wondering how did this not describe it? Right? What is missing from this image? Because honestly, if something's missing from this image, you're not going to be the only person that misses it. I'm going to get a whole bunch of Twitter comments that just suck. E-commerce, etc. I think at that point, though, e-commerce is different. Right? If you have 100 products, you can just regenerate the whole site. Who cares? I mean eBay scale e-commerce. Shopify scale e-commerce. Oh, God. Oh, actually, I kind of like that. Oh, I like the curve. Oh, man, dude. TL draw is great. Oh, TL draw is just super good, man. Dude, TL draw. Yeah, I've never used Excalidraw that much. Like, what is scaled down about it? What's up, DM Mulroy? Mr. Sir. Yeah, I saw you over on Nate's. I see how it is. I'm kidding. I'm just having fun. I think this is something important. I hope you being here while I make it doesn't get you in hot water at Vercel. Well, it has Mermaid.js built in? Okay, I get it. How do I output this to an image? Export as. Ooh, here we go. Next week? No, that's fine, man. Yeah, like DM Mulroy, when you say made some progress, you mean I made all the tests pass and fixed all of our like scheduling logic? Yeah. No big deal. All of the scheduling is totally tested, 100% and good to go. I'd love to see and know how we do, you know, code coverage, some of that. No, I'm not converted to nothing. Convert would mean I'm going to use it for other stuff I build. Nah, no. I'm going to take the path of least resistance for everything I build, and OCaml is not it. I'm sorry, like, as an OCaml dev, you know that too. OCaml is not the path of least resistance for anything. Eventually, I might refactor towards OCaml for something that I built out in maybe a non-scalable way. Oh, you're right. Oh, yeah, good catch. We're pointing at the wrong thing. There we go. Way better. Thank you. Good catch. Good catch. I think OCaml's great. And yeah, using your boilerplate, I was able to be really productive really quick. I want to point that out right now. Pretty awesome. But would I reach for OCaml for a back-end service I want to spin up? No. Would I reach for it for a library? Just generally, like proof of concept? No. Right? The moment I'm reaching for OCaml, I've already proven out my idea and I need an SDK for a language that people might want to use it in, right? That's about it to me. No offense. I'm being honest. Elixir is a narrow use case for me as well. I'm not going to reach for Elixir until I know I need to scale in that way. At which point I might consider Gleam instead. Yeah, I definitely would consider Gleam, for sure, for all sorts of stuff. If you want to do a Gleam SDK at some point, we'll consider it. Sure, why not? Before then, though, I need to build out the Lua and the Ruby, and there's like 2 other languages as well. Zig, I want to do just for myself. Pretty sure there's one more after that. Oh, Dart. Yeah, so Lua, Ruby, Dart. Those are actual use cases, and then the Zig is for me. I do really want to show off and like work with you to make sure we're generating enums, etc., in the way that you would want to consume it as an OCaml dev. So I think that's what we end up doing on our next co-stream. So Space Case, just think of Gleam as type-safe Elixir. I know Elixir is working towards that goal eventually, and maybe if Elixir does the type-safe thing properly, yeah, I don't know if I'll ever use Gleam. But until then, Gleam seems cool, and I might mess with Gleam. But if Elixir does the... You know, if Elixir ends up doing the type-safe Elixir thing better than Gleam, or at least officially more than Gleam, I'll just use Elixir. But I'm not sure that will ever happen. I know they're doing incremental, like blah, 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 whatever, whereas Gleam has types from the ground up. But yeah, DM Mulroy, how do you feel about this graph? Anyone out there in chat, how do you feel about this graph? Is it misleading? Does it say exactly what you think it means, etc.? The entire thesis I'm going to be making basically is some of these hosting companies want you to think that the red section is bigger than it is. Is there anyone in chat that is pushing back on this diagram? I know, I get it. Mista. Yeah, no, I get it. It's not like I'm going to have any major impact on the business, right? Because the blank company, right? The blank company is actually aimed at beginners, right? For a beginner to get something hosted, the blank company solves that niche for them really well. Like, really well. It's amazing, right? Ephemeral branches and all that stuff. Really, really good. Super cool. But at some point, if you're using their framework, you're putting in a bunch of effort for a thing that you just don't need. If you're building a documentation site, you don't need static server-side rendering. You just don't. And the amount of actual doc sites I've seen running Next.js in SSR mode kind of blows my mind. Like, it's literally insane to me. Literally insane to me. So yeah, I'm going to turn this into a YouTube video eventually. If I get around to it, you know? There we go. So I think we got one. This is the web. We're going to schedule this one for tomorrow morning, too, if I actually do the scheduling right. Scheduling in general, yes. Scheduling with Twitter, ooh. Yes, but no. Right? How do we feel about it? Is this a solid tweet? What could I improve about it? Let's at least do the alt text. A very rough diagram showing that all right, so let's schedule it out. Tomorrow is the 20th, 3:20. Let's do it at 6:30 a.m. Hold on. Let's do 7:30 and I'll just reply to people. There we go. Like when I wake up at a reasonable hour. Crack a noon. So I feel like I have scheduling down at this point, but Twitter does not. Is there a save as draft button? Scheduled posts, 0. Yeah, I know. All right. Well, we're going to shuffle that over to the edge, and we'll post it tomorrow. Oh, I messed up. I should have done the experience lately, right? The experience. I know it doesn't necessarily work in the same way, but the experience lately is making me lose my patience. That should have been the tweet. I messed up. Whatever. I could modify it. I see DM Mulroy over in the channel we were lurking. First time on the leaking your Twitch token. The key is you never use your actual Twitch token. You create a separate account for your announcements. That's why big streamers don't use their own full access API token for their chatbot. That's the reason. If you leak a key for your chatbot, sure, who cares? So Cadbury Bot exists for that exact reason. These rookie streamers will figure it out one of these days. Today is not that day. That's a big Kappa face in that statement. Come on. But yeah, I'm going to go lurk a different stream. One that doesn't make me feel left out. All right, I'll go lurk a different stream. How about that? There we go. And yeah, so let's get back to the thing we're doing. The thing we're doing, and it's already 6:40. Wow, where does the time go? Oh, I think I know where the time goes. I think I know where the time goes. So, all right, back to our authentication issues. Yeah, I needed that little break because these auth issues are confusing. Invalid scope requested. That's it. So yeah, that's not it. I wonder if it's down to our auth tokens. We should see something from that. I'm wondering if it's because I turned off the debug thing. Are we running into the issue of my session being out of date? All right. Yeah, I think that was just a dead session over in the terminal. All right, so we see stuff there. We've done logs and traces. What is the one we did just now? Right, logs end up failing us. Invalid scope requested. Okay, so over in Grafana, no data from the cloud because none of it's making it there because we don't have a valid token. Unauthorized, unexpected content type. That is a different error. Oh. Okay. Yeah, so I think I'm in food mode. I'm getting like really hungry. I think this error that we have, I kind of want to like sit and stew on it for a bit. Let me look at this. What is my plan for work stuff tomorrow? I've got 2 meetings. I need to do some like video editing stuff and set up more environment stuff in the morning, but I actually think we might be able to stream tomorrow. We'll see what I feel as I get some other stuff like established. I need to continue setting up example like code bases and workspaces and things like that. So I would not mind digging into some of this stuff tomorrow, as long as technically I want to put in some work on like setting up dev projects, etc., that exemplify what we're trying to do. with Get Kraken in general. So I need to really think about how we set up disparate environments for various like workflows, you know? I'll consider if that's like actually good stream content tomorrow, when instead there's always Thursday. I think Thursday I could start streaming at like 11, maybe noon. I do have a call in the afternoon, that's fine. Friday is wide open. We'll consider tomorrow. At this point, tomorrow and me streaming is like a 50-50. But I'll definitely be streaming on this channel on Thursday. Gaming channel tomorrow night with Wormbane, I think. And we'll probably play For the King, or For the King 2, technically. Tonight on gaming, I'm going to cook some shrimp scampi. It's going to be delicious. Oh, let's hear this out. Pretty solid. If you want that audio clip, just send me a message over on Discord and I'll download it and send it to you. Yeah, I feel like your other superhero name would be the Scrum Master. Not just a Scrum Master, but the Scrum Master. Scrum Lord. Ooh, it's like Slumlord, but better? Hey, Scrum Lord. Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah, it's like Star-Lord and Slumlord mixed together for Scrum. I like it. Yeah, that's solid. But okay, let's go find a stream to raid. There's the Coppinger, Spiridon. We see Chris Titus Tech still going. Let's go raid him. Because we haven't had a chance to actually repay his previous raids. Yeah, it is scampi time. I'm going to make some delicious shrimp and noodles. It's going to be so good. It'll be live cooked on stream over on the other channel tonight in front of your very eyes. I'll be doing that over the next like half hour to an hour. Technically, I got to let the shrimp thaw a little bit before I really like jump in, but I should probably get the noodle or the water for the noodles like heating up at the same time. And we'll watch some random show while we're waiting for things to prep, and then yeah, while I'm cooking, we'll also be watching a show. And then from there, we got to figure out a game we play. What game are we going to play? MLB The Show is brand new. If we got some people we could play with it together on, that'd be great. And if you have Xbox Game Pass, you get it free. So yeah, let's play some MLB The Show as a group, or maybe I play some Last Epoch, or some other thing if people vote for it. Just depends. But I'll see y'all over there soon. We're going to go raid someone. YouTube, real quick. Thank y'all for hanging out. See you again soon. See ya probably Thursday. Later.